Look at this. I got headphones on. I got a mic going. Baby.
If
Huh?
only people could see you now.
Hey, no video. We've gone through this before.
All right,
No
all
video.
right. Welcome to This Commerce Life. This is a podcast aimed at small, medium entrepreneurs focused on commerce. I'm Phil, your host, and Kenny, your co-host, will join us as well. And we're going to talk to you about the world of retail and commerce and how things are changing in the world.
Good, gentlemen. How are you both?
Doing all right.
Good.
Doing all right. Yeah.
Someone's a year older. Happy belated, my friend.
Kenny.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Pretty awesome.
It's another day.
Did you celebrate?
Yeah, it was actually nice. You know, it was nice yesterday because Amelia's been going to work, right, the whole time. Her office is pretty dead, so she goes. But the kids and I have been going for walks like every other day kind of thing. So yesterday was nice. The kids went for a walk with the old man, which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then we had Chinese food for dinner. Got my chocolate cake. We sat
Okay,
down.
wait a minute. The Italian having Chinese. That's kind of funny, isn't it?
I love Chinese food. And I had
Italian food last night.
Yeah, I did white guy Chinese food, right? Like I did the pork fried rice, chicken chow mein,
Sweet and sour?
sweet and sour pork, lemon chicken. Like I did white guy.
Oh,
I
dude.
loved it, man.
But you got a Canadian-born Chinese, so it's all fits. You know, like
I love it.
it's all right in there.
And plus, in this city, like if you order, like because we have so many amazing Chinese restaurants in the city, obviously, right? It's
Yeah.
insane, right? So
Yeah.
if we order from a really good Chinese restaurant, it's been around for like 30 years.
Yeah.
But shit, man, it was good. But it is
That's
very
amazing.
it's very stuff you don't find when you go over there. I've been over there a few times. It's not over there.
No.
Their
No.
food is so much better than it is here. They really like. Sometimes you want to go to this restaurant. Listen, I've been to the homeland. You guys have really fell apart.
Yeah.
You're
It's
making
not
hot dogs now. It's not quite the same.
Yeah.
Still
it's not
good.
the same.
Still liking
Not
it,
the same.
but it's
Yeah.
not like his
Yeah.
food over there is ridiculous. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So how's it going, guys? What's everybody up to?
How
How we surviving?
how are things going?
Laurie seems busy.
Laurie seems very busy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see you on socials. I
Yes.
see you hosting things. It's
Yeah.
it's moving.
It's crazy because I mean, just at this time that it's globally, right? Like nobody
Yeah.
has ever been through this before.
Yeah.
And everybody's looking for connection. Everybody's looking
Yeah.
for reassurance. And then it's interesting. I would say this week I would say everyone kind of paused for about 3 weeks, right? Of just disbelief and kind of like, what the heck is going on? And then the week before, I did a lot of my own coaching, right? And kind of went, all right, okay, no, because this, in essence, COVID-19 is a circumstance,
Mhm.
and a circumstance is neutral.
Mhm.
And we get to decide how we want to show up, and we get to decide what results we want to create. And that can still happen under COVID, right? I know it to be
Yeah.
true. I coach women that have breast cancer that are still able to decide how they want to show up, right? So we know that you put that in as a neutral top of your lineage of your thinking. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, what am I going to think about this?
Yeah.
And then how do I want to show up today? And how I show up decides whether or not I'm going to hide some more
Mhm.
and eat more Oreos and drink more
Yeah.
wine, or am I going to show up and actually offer the world what I have? And do I actually have to go, oh, okay, maybe I need to think about this, and how do I get creative and actually pivot and change? And what is it that my clients and customers need right now?
Right.
So I came out Monday really kind of hard with my clients and just kind of went, all right, I'm kind of stop playing nice. And, you want to lose weight, you want to build a business, you want to build a better relationship with somebody in your life, we're going to get at it. And
Mhm.
COVID's going to be here and we don't know how long. So we can stop
Mhm.
holding our breath and get busy.
Yeah.
So,
And like you said,
Yeah.
COVID shouldn't stop all that. What COVID has stopped is, you shouldn't go shopping with a large crowd.
Yeah.
Okay. Shouldn't go to the beach with a large crowd. Whatever.
Yeah.
It hasn't stopped anything else per se. I mean, business, yes, if you're in a restaurant, you've stopped.
Yeah.
But that's not to
Yeah.
say you couldn't morph your
Yeah.
restaurant into doing other things too.
Yeah.
And now sometimes it's easier that, might be you don't want to do that much work. Maybe it's
Yeah.
just complicated. It doesn't matter what the reasons are, but there are alternatives and there are
Yeah.
things you can do.
Well, and
Right.
here's the fun thing. I always think about sort of what I can offer on our time together, and something I came up with. Well, truthfully, it's not mine. It's my coach, Brooke Castillo. Right? I was listening to one of her podcasts the other day, and she offered something that I've now implemented with my own coaching sessions. Is wherever your brain wants to go and say all of the things that has changed and it can't. Okay, then equal airtime to everything and counter offer it.
Yeah.
So challenge it, right? Whereas right now for 3 weeks, I would literally say the whole world was just okay with listening to that baby brain being scared, running around with a knife. Right?
Yeah.
Totally fine, understandable. We've never been there before.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. But now it's like that brain's still going to give it because every day everybody's still talking about COVID-19. All right. So your brain's still going to want to freak out. But when it does, all right, give it airtime, but whatever airtime you give it in your brain, give it equal amounts to challenging it to say, okay, what if that wasn't true? What could I do? What if business could look differently, right? What would that look like?
Yeah.
And then just see which one makes you feel better at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, Laurie, you don't have to look that hard. It's not like, if you think about it, I haven't been able to see the folks outside of dropping some food off on weekends, like I'll do some shopping for them.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to see the folks, but we FaceTime every day.
Yeah.
We never talked this much before.
Yeah.
Like I never saw my mom. I shit you not. I've never seen my mom and dad more than I've seen them since COVID. Because we're on FaceTime once a day. So I mean, again, I know it's not as good as a hug, and I get all that. But you know what? Suck it up, Buttercup. It's a couple months or whatever this is going to be. It's not going to be forever, right? But I'm connecting with to the point where I feel like I'm on Zoom all freaking day.
Yeah.
That's all I do is Zoom.
Yeah.
You know what? We did one today at work. We got it was actually Mark's idea. He wanted to get everybody together. So the 11 of us or whatever was showed up on Zoom.
Yeah.
No work.
Yeah.
How's it going? What are you doing with the kids? Laughing.
Yeah.
That was it. It was actually quite nice, to be honest.
Yeah.
And to tell you the truth, we never would have done that in the office.
No.
No way. Because in the office, you're running around like a chicken with no head. Doing what? I have no idea. But now at least we're taking a little time. I saw the mountains yesterday. Sunny day, 2:00 in the afternoon. We get haze, not like Toronto, but it's usually haze.
Sure.
Clear as a bell.
Yeah.
Clear as a bell. I mean, I know people dying in this. This is not good.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful to see a result of us not maybe being out as much in cars or whatever. Just, spin it.
Yeah. Totally.
I think I think of it like different, not better or worse. I mean, the dying part, don't want to make light of that at all.
Obviously.
But I don't think to your, like I've had some like just really great Zoom calls, and especially with people where like at one point, like there's a handful of people that I've been trying to get with that, kids, all that kind of stuff, just can't string it together. And then all of a sudden, because it's Zoom, and I think that in truth, we always wanted to do that, but it felt weird, right? Because they're local, I'm local, why can't we figure out? And like, it's like 4 months before we get together, right?
Exactly.
So now we just went, look, you know what? With this COVID stuff, we're going to Zoom. Is that cool? Yeah, that's cool. When can we do it? Oh, tomorrow. And all of a sudden it's different, but it's not worse. It's in some ways it's better because you've got like this, you've got an inflection point that everybody shares, right? You are able to share a little bit of how it makes you anxious, how you're coping with it. And I think everyone takes some value out of that too, because they see, how do you suffer? How do I suffer? How do I cope? How do you cope? And that helps us bond. And then the conversations get so much better. I feel deeper, better.
Less superficial, guys. We have some time.
Yeah.
I got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
I'm not running to the store or whatever the hell I'm doing. I'm running to the fridge, Laurie. So stop talking about people drinking wine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with drinking wine starting at 9:00 in the morning. Okay, for most people, it's all good. And my dad said white wine before noon is fine, not red.
Okay.
And he's Italian, and my dad knows it. He's Italian. They know the rules.
Okay.
Just stay with that story.
Kenny.
But seriously, it's funny. Like You're probably the same as you two. I have never been. Okay, I hate the reason word, but I've never had more full plate type of activity.
Yeah.
And yet I do have these nice buckets of time where I've sat down and thought, you know what, shit. If this wasn't COVID, I wouldn't phone Paul. Right?
Yeah.
I'll talk to Paul once every 3 months.
Yeah.
COVID happens, I talked to Paul 3 times in the last month.
Yeah.
Same amount of time. I don't know about you guys. My day is still 24 hours. I think it's the same as you guys.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Still doing all the shit that I did before, but all of a sudden it's FaceTime. I don't know. It's just it's a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
Obviously, the death is terrible. And I think honestly, if we didn't manage this the way we sort of did, the way this bug seems to act, I think it would have been a train wreck.
Oh.
So I think we did a lot of good things. So,
yeah,
but I don't know, man. I think there's going to be a lot of good shit that comes out of this. Also, and there's going to be a lot of tragedy. I get that. But there's going to be a lot of good stuff that comes out of this. Maybe we will do things a little differently.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we do. I mean, you look at pollution that's clearing up, right? And then it really does, like, so all the things that we've talked about, right? The things that we love, like, do I really need to go to an office all the time? Do I really need to, like, maybe this really becomes something that as a society we start to rethink, right? Like, do I need to get on the GO train, 5 days a week, get on transit to go to, why? Right? Like I was able to shut down within 3 days of the government saying you got to stay home, and I was able to do everything I was able to do. So how do we,
Maybe 3 days a week we take a car off a road?
Yeah.
So,
it changes things,
It's so interesting because I would say the common thread for the coaching this last 2 weeks, once everything kind of like it was crisis first, and then we had to get out of the scary movie. And then it just got into, okay, what's this new normal going to look like?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. My husband actually sent me this quote today, and I just thought of it.
Jimmy.
I know. Listen, and it's so funny because he's in a leadership group, and they're reading Brene Brown's leadership book right now.
Yeah.
So this one, the quote that she came out with was, "We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to switch the new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature."
Spot on.
Isn't that just Brene Brown, everyone?
Spot on.
Isn't that amazing? Because it's so interesting, but it's what we know, so it's our comfort. Although our comfort didn't fit us properly.
It wasn't comfortable.
No.
We were all pissing and moaning 2 months ago. My God, are you kidding me? We were all whining on our show that we were all running around with chicken head, exhausted. What the hell fun was that? I don't know what the hell. Like, when I look back, I'm thinking, again, outside of the fact that it's unfortunate, this has to push us into this. But sometimes shit happens, and you can get a positive.
It resets, right? Yeah, you got to reset. Yeah.
I think this is good.
Yeah.
My daughter and I, when we were walking today, we were talking, because Carly's 24 this year, 24 in May. And, this is a kid hyperactive in terms of, like, can't sit still, needs to be busy. Not hyperactive, bouncy, but busy. Always got to have something going on. Always got to be 4 jobs, 10 jobs, seriously, like mental, right? Working in here, nights, days, going to school. All of a sudden, things shut down. Now, again, she's getting a pokey from the government, but it was what she was making anyway. But when she was making this money working, as much as she was doing and doing all those things, she had less money at the end of the month than she does now. And she's making the same money.
Sure.
And yet she's also taking a welding course. We're going for walks. She's biking. She's exercising. She's doing more stuff now, making the same money. Okay, don't take apart that it's given money at the moment.
Yeah.
But what it's showing her is that if you want to go back, you don't need to make 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month. The money that they're giving you, you're telling me you're paying your rent, you're buying your food.
Yeah, you can live on it.
And you still have money at the end of the month left over. I said, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
So then we go forward. What do you want to do? Do you want to kill yourself for work?
Yeah.
This is something that just you touched on. Tonight was we're really trying to support as much small business as we can.
We all are, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So
we're trying to.
one of my clients owns a catering business, Vision Caterings, and so they do pub night Friday. So we bought that and ordered that or whatever. And so when we went to go pick it up, we said, "How's business?" And he says, "Well, actually, we're busier than we can manage because none of our staff that we laid off want to come back."
Wow. There's no
because
point.
they're making more money.
They're making more money staying home.
Yeah.
Again, that's the unfortunate part
But
of
isn't that
government
interesting?
policy.
We're
But it's
into
funny.
Conundrum, right?
Exactly.
And it's like, here we are advertising, and he's like, "Well, don't tell too many people how we
I
can't
can't do it.
because in my kitchen there's 3 of us, and we have to figure out social distancing to cook."
Yeah.
But they're managing.
Yeah.
They are
They're
managing.
managing. They're making a business.
Yeah.
They're probably a lot less stressed out, a lot less people to manage. Again, you got to watch the implications of having too many people unemployed. And I've told my daughter too, the bogey's going to stop it. The checks are going to stop sooner or later because we're going to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
But again, it does show you how much do you really need to get through, because the greed part, like you were saying before, and this drive of ours to plug up. This is Phil's problem. We can talk about Phil in a minute, Laura. This need to plug up every minute in our day, Phil.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't want to talk about me this week. Phil, we got to talk about you. Plugging up every minute of your day. This is good for you.
No, I actually. What's that?
Turns. We take turns.
I know.
Coach, right?
No. We don't.
It's
We don't
Phil's
take
turn.
turns. Kenny's actively.
Because I know sooner or later I'm going to say something's going to end up on me.
No, but
Phil, we got to protect Phil. It's all about working on Phil.
But I think it's the same sort of thing, right? So I've probably I've had two people I coach, and then one customer that I've let go in the last week and a half. And in all 3 cases, it was, hey, wait, I don't really need these. And we're not clicking, right? And so with the customer, I said, we're not clicking. Like this is not working. What I'm giving you is advice you don't want, right? And you're going to keep doing what you do. So what we need to do is take a break, right? Or I can find you someone else, or if you've got somebody else in mind, like it's not working and it's not great, right? Like there's a lot of clarity on my part. Same sort of ideas here, right? Is that, I looked at the situation when, like I'm doing some really cool stuff I like the new podcast I've got going on. I really love that. It's really fun. It doesn't take a ton of time, but I'm thinking about it. I'm relaxing. I'm stretching out a little bit more. You know what? And then when I got on the call with this client, those emotions, right? You get off the call and you're like, I've kind of rethought how I give them advice. I've restructured it because I'm trying to help them. But it's not clicking. It's not working. And when you get off the call, right? So I said to her, this is not it. And she said, yeah, I think you're right. And I was like, all right, so we're done here. Like, don't worry about it today. We're not going to bill, you call me if you need something, but tell me how I can help you kind of make a break from me, and then we'll figure it out, right? And so that was really great. And the two people I coach, I found them other coaches, right? Because they started to move into other areas, and I went, I don't do that, and I don't understand how to do that. So how do I help you connect with somebody else? Because it's the right thing to do. Like I think even 6 months ago, I would have been like, I can't wait till I solve something and then they can go away. And do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But now there's a different perspective, right? Because it's like, I don't need all this, right? So
nothing really changed if you think about it. I mean, I don't know what the hell.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know what we were doing 6 months ago with this big panic and worry. All the shit that we were, nothing's changed per se, except I've got more time to maybe think and reevaluate. And maybe this does scare us into being a little perspective, and you're thinking, geez, man, this is kind of, this is totally out of our control. I can't, it's a bug. I don't know what the hell to do with it. Can't see it, can't do anything, but we can manage some things. And
I think for me, there's a value for time now that we didn't have 6 months ago. And to me, that's a big thing. Like, I think, so you think of and it comes in everything, right? It's like, we haven't done a grocery shop in 2 weeks, right? So we finally did one, right? And you really kind of when you're building the list, right? You're thinking about like, do we need that? Gotta be nice to have another, gallon of ice cream, another pint of ice cream. We really need it. We should really grab these things. We got to make sure, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's,
Totally.
I'm not going back for 2 weeks. So I really want to make sure I make the most out of this trip, that I'm getting all the things I need. And then I don't want to walk out of the store and go, damn, I forgot that one thing. Right. So there's like this real focus on, look, what's important. Right. And we said that, with the kids too. The kids are like, oh, can you get? And we're like, okay, do we need peak freens? Or, if I got you like Triscuits instead, like, what's the, like all those sort of conversations that we're having. And I feel like the time that we have and the calculation on the value is starting to now flow into the other things, right? Because I noticed that even in client conversations is there's not this drive to like, I've got to like smoke this to-do list I've got. Now it's like, I got like 3 things I got to do. Because that's it. These are the important 3 things, right? Like, how do I do these? And then I'll be a much happier person if I can get this done, or the business will be much happier. So I feel like that's back in the equation, which I feel I like it, right? Because I think we're being, like what we're saying is we're being a little bit more mindful, we're being more planful about, how we're going about things, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think your listeners being that they're small business, they're potentially having that, still sitting in that scared factor? Like where do you think they are for that? And how can, right? Like, I just think of the unknowns for them. I mean, I'm so thankful our businesses have always been online. We were able to pivot, right? Actually expanding, doing some new things, right? Trial and error now has never been better to do that for some of us.
But our worlds lend to that. What do you do if you own a small grocery or a coffee bar?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah.
How do you manage that world?
Talk to me about what their concerns would be helpful, so that maybe I can give some nuggets that way to.
I think that, we've been through a month, right? So bills are in, right? Because the bills don't stop flowing. So I think there's still panic right now. Like, I think if you're a small business owner, I don't know, I think you're somewhere between panic, fear, and holy crap, what am I going to do? Right? Like, I think those are the 3 things. I think among the brands that I work with, only one didn't have time to have any of those emotions, because they were trying to figure out all the government stuff, because they're trying to figure out how to take advantage of some of these things. And then her complaint was that she was trying to figure out how to save the business, retain employees, and then also get paid. Like all this government stuff, right? She later came back and said she's never seen a government program so easy to implement. This is in Ontario, but so she was highly complimentary of that. But I think somewhere in there's definitely some fear. There's a lot of worry. There's like this, I don't know what you call the governmental anxiety. Maybe we just call it that, governmental paperwork anxiety. But I think, this is just my opinion, but I think now in the next couple of weeks, what we'll see is businesses start to try and figure out, like, what the hell does this mean, right? Like, what are we going to do? Because it looks like we're going to be in this till, like mid-June, dare I say it, right? Like, here we keep extending, but they've extended it now to middle of May, and they've said, more than likely that's not the end of it. We just don't know. So we're just going to tell you to the middle of May, right? I think May 12th is our new extension date. So you're kind of like, you got another month to go. If your business that's had your doors closed or slow to trickle because you haven't been able to adjust, you got to do it now, right? Because you've had a month of, you probably burned up your month of, wiggle room, if you had it in your business. Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest thing I could offer for anyone that's in any of those positions would be really to see when we are feeling those ways, identifying what it is that we're doing when we're there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can only reflect back to, like, as I said, my 3 weeks that I was giving myself this pass. I wasn't being out there, being creative,
Mm-hmm.
being, just kind of nimble to go, okay, how could I pivot? How could I do this? Exploring different options. I was hiding, retreating, and, kind of just numbing myself. Right? Yeah.
I was eating.
Still eating.
Yeah.
I'm drinking, right?
Yeah.
I've done both.
So just for anyone listening, like, just again to recognize that when we have, and all of those feelings are completely understandable, normal, natural. So what I have found is a lot of my clients judging themselves for even spending time out, and then getting really pissed off that they're there. It's like, okay, well, you're just layering another emotion on top of. So let's peel that back and get to, you're feeling worried, panicked, and fear. Okay, but let's recognize that when you're feeling that, you're pausing, you're frozen, you're not being, innovative, you're not being creative, you are stuck. And just recognize, how about we just actually breathe into, and I literally mean breathe into, but literally accept that the thought that I'm having that I don't know what to do and that the world's going to end and I won't be able to pay my bills is making me freak out. Of course it is. But then again, you're giving that airtime. So now counter it and go, okay, but what if there was something I could do? What might that be? And it kind of just, it pays enough credence to the thought that you're having, and honoring it totally makes sense. But in recognizing when we're stuck there, we're not actually helping our business move forward, because we're not getting out of the doors, literally, figuratively, of being creative and thinking of a coffee bar. I love that, Kenny, in your last podcast. Well, hey, maybe we'll just have people pull up. Maybe we'll just do this. But we're never going to get to those thoughts if we're always stuck thinking that it's doom and gloom.
I think the bonus we have, and this is sometimes where I try to be careful even when I post anything online or whatever, is right. My circumstances are very different than a lot of others, and probably the same as yours too. I'm not out of work. I have retained everything that I had prior. I've got an opportunity to probably pick up 2 or 3 this week. Whether I need them or not is another story, but that's usually my problem. We're not talking about me tonight. So stop writing things down, Laurie. Shut up, Phil. So you start looking at that. It's a whole different mentality. If you're the coffee bar, the reason with the coffee bar, you know why we don't have to panic? Because quite frankly, the coffee company owns the bar. Coffee company's doing okay right now. We can make a run of this. Like, I know on Commercial Drive, if I walk up and down the street, I'll tell you right now, and 30% of those businesses are not going to be open if this goes another couple weeks. And the challenge you're going to have, this is where people's fears really come through. And then you still got ways, you got to look at things for sure. But some of the fears a small business can have, I'm going to have 2 months of rent that I'm going to have to figure out how to pay. I've got all the taxes. I mean, all the deferrals, they're awesome. They're awesome.
But they're
a
just
deferral 3 months down the road, when I have no operating money right now, I don't have any operating money in 3 months either. To your point, Laurie, what other things your pub people have, the challenge your pub people have right now, they can do a business. They can't get people because we've got policy that all right intentions, but an ill effect at the end. I can't get someone to come in because why would you? You can make more at home than you can working, and there's no risk for you being at home. So as a small business person, these are all the things you're battling. And quite frankly, your biggest battles is, okay, this goes till the 1st of May, 1st of June. Can I reopen? Like, what money do I have? What's the world going to look like? They're saying that we're going to be 10 to 12, 15% unemployment. They're talking 25, 35% GDP down. Like, they're throwing all this stuff at us. And no matter what we say, we all hear that as a society. The media keeps jamming in our head. It produces a a whole different effect. People like us aren't going to miss a meal, but we may still hold back a little money. Not great for the economy because 3 of us can probably spend relatively well and we can fuel a few things. But if our type of folks stop doing that, how the hell do you think these people what are they going to go back to? So that's the fear of small business when you're asking is you're sitting there thinking, I don't know if I can reopen. I don't know if I have the funds to reopen, no matter what the government's throwing at me, because I've got all these bills. I might have to hire a whole new staff.
Yeah.
I have to retrain. How am I going to manage this? That's the fears of business a small business might have, right?
Sure.
How do you manage that?
Well, and I offer, I guess, is from what I can offer is helping them because when we kind of cast our fishing rod out 2 weeks, 2 months down the way, right? And we start to do projections that way. We right now, under the information we have today, we can start to live in that panic state the whole time. And what I want to offer is that go back to November of 2019. We could have cast out the net, not knowing anything about what COVID was going to do, and we felt okay in November. The reality is it was all going to change. We just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Right.
But had we had a little crystal ball, we could have been in fear and paralyzed in November as well.
Yeah.
But here's my question. What would the upside of that have been? Because it would have paralyzed you in November, December, and January, just not knowing what was ahead of you or just thinking the worst ahead of you. Yeah. So bringing it back to what I can help anybody listening for today is that as long as we think it's doom and gloom 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months down the way, we're going to continue to stay in that paralyzed state. And from that state, we're not necessarily going to be, for one, living our best life. And that's what I praise. Like, just how do we show up in the world if we're continuously full of fear? Right? So it's like, okay, wait a minute. I can't control. And here's the thing. We couldn't have controlled it before. We never could, ever. But now we just have the media telling us what they think the future is going to look like. And we're going, oh, okay. Right. But, and it's not to say that we have to get to this puppy dog and rainbow thought either.
Yeah.
It's just recognizing when we stay in that state of just thinking that we don't know what's ahead of us and we need to control it. We just convinced ourselves otherwise that we could control it last November, but we really couldn't.
The only reason you controlled it last November is because nothing was happening. So you're living a little bit of delusion. You probably weren't. A lot.
You're running on cruise control, really.
They were running on borrowed time or cruise control, quasi-empty tank. But
the word I love is delusional, because we were delusional thinking that everything was okay.
Yeah.
We could easily say we're delusional thinking that everything's doom and gloom when
100%.
we could actually come up with an antivirus or vaccine earlier, right? Like all of these things we don't know.
Yeah.
But it just always comes back to the mindset of whatever thoughts we're having is going to either activate us into taking action and creating the results, right? And again, it might not be the results that we thought, like, Phil, to your point, it might just look differently than we thought it was.
Yeah.
And then how can we wrap our head around being okay with what it looks like now, right?
But differently can also be a change, Laurie. You don't have to do the same thing you were doing.
I'm sorry?
You don't have to do the same thing you were doing either. There's a lot of these businesses that, quite frankly, if they really, I mean, it's hard to do, and I don't mean to do this to people, but you're sitting down now looking at it. It wasn't necessarily massively viable in November. Because you got to be able to ride out storms. I mean, this is a little bit extreme. I get it.
Yeah.
But with a lot of these people, we've even told some of our friends, you know what, might be a good time to actually just go down and paint, clean up. And you know, when it does come back, because there will be opportunities, and there's a lot of people who are going to be looking for opportunities, it might be a good time to pivot and do something else.
Yeah.
Move out of this, try something else. If you ever wanted to do that one thing, you know, those things you really wanted to do, but this thing anchor kind of held you there and you couldn't let go because you're so in it. Well, not that it's a good way to necessarily let go of it, but sometimes, you know,
but for small business, it's not different. I mean, you think of all the people that listen to us that are in our age ranges who are kind of like, I know I'm going to let go, or I know I'm going to get restructured, or
Yep.
I just really, this job sucks and I don't want to do it anymore. And I think that out of these Zoom calls, I've had a whole bunch of these where they're just like, my God, it's just as bad now. And I'll say to them, no, it's great now. You're home now. Like, are you spending the same amount of time a day? Like you've got time to think, you've got time to read, like all that commuting time that was stressing you out, you don't have that anymore. So you know what, like 3 weeks of, you're absolutely right. Like 3 weeks of like shell shock, right? Of us trying to figure out like, is my house right? Is my home right? Is family safe? Like, now you can now's a great time to go out and figure out what your second hustle is or what you want to be when you grow up. And I think like the same way for these small businesses is, one, you aren't going back to what you had before anyway, right? Like whatever you had before, if it's not working as of right now, it's not going to work when we go back, right? Yeah. It'll get better and you'll get stuck in cruise control again. So like, it's a really good time to think about like, is it like, could it look different and what should it look like? Or could your life look different and what would that look like, right? Like to your point, Kenny, like totally. Some of these people who are home, like I think of like, so I've been a commercial drive a handful of times, right? The last time I was there was with you, and some of them strike me as like family owned businesses that they've inherited over the years. There's probably a handful of folks on that street that went, I'm doing this because mom and pop gave me the business. Like, what else am I supposed to do, right? But now's your time to go like, sorry, mom and pop, like yeah. This is it, right? Like it's done. I don't have to spin up the business again. So what do I do that's different, right? How do I, like, I wonder if that's a neat place for people to start when they're feeling panic, Laurie. I want your opinion on this. Is like, do you just pick one question and go, like, let's try and kick around one question? What, like,
my favorite one that it's so funny because I was just talking to my son-in-law about it, is what would it look like?
Yeah.
Love it. Right? Yeah. Because you start to play, and that's the other word that I used, is when we think of it as just play and fantasy, we then don't get stuck in the weeds.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and we can just start to see what that might look like.
Yeah.
And just kind of, and it's so funny. You know what? For the show notes, I'm going to put, I'll send you something somebody sent me today. I can't take any credit for it, but it is basically, what would you do if you could do it different? And it's just a little equation, kind of a fun little thing to figure out. And I touched on it today and I thought, oh, there's got to be a reason.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, this is the time.
I love it.
This is the time.
I love it.
Lots of time to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it's like you said, if again, not to minimize it or play it down, but this is, you're sitting there and you're not too sure if the business is going to open, right? Let's say, like, because we have to think, you got to think a little bit out. We don't know if we're going back at 2, 4, or 6. Mm-hmm. Well, put all 3 scenarios down. Mm-hmm. I once had a friend tell me that basically you choose what you get to do, right? You always have a choice. Might be someone's podcast. I don't know. I can't remember. Could have been someone, right? Because you don't have to go back to what you did. You don't have.
He's not making eye contact with you, Laurie. Not at all.
No, I'm talking just to Phil now because I don't want Laurie, just in case, right? But you start doing that.
That person sounds so smart.
I'm not going to say she's a she. This individual is a very smart person, yes. But you start looking at that and you start saying, okay, like what do I do at this moment? Like I've got a chance to change. It may not be what I wanted to do. It wasn't a change I was looking for, but I'm sorry it's here, right? Yeah. So we're going to have to deal with this.
Yeah.
What does it look like in 2, 4, or 6 weeks? And if you're looking out and it's looking like there might not be, well, what can you do? What is it? You got to change. I mean, again, it's easier to say right now for me because I'm not in a bad spot, but I'm also looking for opportunities still. I haven't shut down. I'm not looking. I'm not actively looking, but things are still landing on me because you know why? Because deep down, I'm still looking. I'm always looking. And opportunities will come when you keep yourself open to opportunities. And I think that's sort of what, that's what people got to get. If you're in a small business right now, you got to do that. You got to sit back and say, okay, 3 weeks from now, If I'm not open, I have to close. Okay, that sucks. What does it look like?
Mm.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Does that mean it's over, like the whole thing is over? Or is the
Mhm.
business over? Or
Yeah.
is it that part of the business is over? Or is it a different business now? Or is it the pub that maybe, you know what, we can never open the doors again and have tables, but we're going to do food service all night.
Mm.
Now, if that doesn't appeal to you, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that's not a sellable business to someone else who might like it. And then now you can go do something else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what comes up for me when you say that is, so I'm always trying to kind of one step ahead of what they might then make that mean, right? And so that might be just a really good question for your listeners too, of if they stumble on going, well, no, this is all that I know. This has been passed down to me. This is who I am.
That's all I've ever done.
Right? Catching those thoughts that come in because they are identifying with themselves as something outside of themselves. Right. And it's like, oh, but wait a minute. Like, and again, one of my favorite questions is like, what if that wasn't true? What if you could have an identity outside of London drugs, right? And have actually, in which be true.
Yeah.
But just even any of your listeners thinking of, okay, change, but then they just find that they're holding on to the old. And I often talk about it being like a suitcase. And it's like, whatever day it is today, April 17th, 2020, you get to decide, as of that suitcase you're packing today, what are you taking from the past moving forward?
Right.
You totally get to decide that.
Yeah.
And if that shop, now, what are we making it mean that you're closing it? Does it mean that you're a failure and you're not good enough to be able to make it? Okay. Well, then again, equal airtime. Well, then what if it actually, you're the perfect spot to be able to make a new transition and, you know, you're ahead of the game because you're actually knowing when to call it in. Right? Giving yourself, if one thought's going to be true, then you have to counter it with what possibly could be true on the other side.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a good time to look
Really
at the choose thing that we talked about many episodes ago, where, you know, well, I think you threw back at me and Phil. We said, well, we got no choice. You got to go. And you said, no, everybody's got a choice. You're thinking, no, that's not true. And then you're thinking, well, maybe it's a little true. And then we'll say it's true when Laurie's not on, because we don't want Laurie to get too, well, we'll talk later, Phil, because maybe she was right. I don't know, but we don't want to tell her that. But you start doing that, and you start saying, yeah, I do have a choice. Now, again, I get sometimes the decision that you get to make may not be the one you wanted to make, and may have come at a shitty time. Could be someone's past. It could be that you lost a job. It could be you got sick. I get that, right? We've all had, everybody goes through shit, right? But sometimes, you know, you got to just, look, put the columns down. Yeah, this all sucks. Okay, so got to be something that doesn't suck. So if this one sucks, what's the other side of it? What does it look like? How does it play? I got to close the business. Okay, what does that mean? What else can you do? What else can you? What else have you thought that you wanted to do?
I worked with a client today and some decisions she was making, and she's like, yeah, but it's just so hard.
I guess so.
Right? And so there's a thought, right? And I always talk about my tray. So that's that thought that's on her brain tray. And okay, totally see that thought, because it's there and it's completely being offered to you. But guess what? You've done hard things in the past. That's when we talk about, Phil, when you talk about right now is the time that we can spend to be intentional with our thinking.
Yes.
Right. So if for her, she was stuck at and just stopped it, like it didn't move forward. She didn't get creative of how she was going to solve this problem. Her brain just said, it's hard. And it was like, okay, but you've done hard things before, right? And so I had to help her build evidence. She's a mom of 2 teenage boys, for God's sakes.
Okay. She's a mom already. She's done hard. Right? I mean, you've done hard. Right.
So it's just, it was expanding that thought, going, okay, it can totally be hard. We're not trying to puppy dog and rainbows this.
No.
But she's a woman that does hard things. And all of a sudden she felt empowered, going, oh, I could totally do this. Right. And had a completely different posture to it, rather than feeling completely disempowered by saying, I can't do this. It's totally too hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't negate that there's going to be hard decisions. And it doesn't negate that some of it's going to suck. Yeah. Sorry. Like, I mean, that like shit happens, and life's not fun all the time. And there's a lot of part that sucks, but that doesn't mean that for every part that's not so fun, that there isn't some light at the end of it. And again, I'm not Joe Rainbows and, you know, or sunshines and puppy dogs and reasons. I'm not that person. Like I'm typically
You're
a lot more
not?
pragmatic.
What?
I'm yeah, exactly. You're so funny. I just like looking at, I like things the way that you look at things for where they are. It is what it is to some degree, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
That's why you can't say it is what it is and walk away. It is what it is in this second of time, in this moment, in this one. But it doesn't have to stay that way.
Yeah.
You can change some aspects of it, or you can change the way you look at it. Maybe you can't change the actual moment. It is what it is. Someone passes, but that doesn't mean you can't have a different attitude on how you look at that, how it changes your life. Maybe, maybe you do lose the business. Maybe the business has to close.
Yeah.
That's a reality that many, many people are going to face. Seriously. So, I mean, again, you don't want to pull rainbows up people's butts, but you're right. 30% of the business are probably going to close. These small businesses, they are. But what does that mean?
Yeah.
You're in that one of the 30. What do you do? What's the gig? What's the game?
And one last, so we're not giving Phil any airtime here. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Small businesses, I have to think. I'm always trying to run. I tried to do this my life scenario in here. I just don't want Laurie to get pick on me, so I try to, pretend it's other people. But really, I got to get my mind into this. It
really, it's just so fascinating because we're talking about small business, but then I'm bringing in all of the women that I work in my private practice. It's all of our thoughts about all of this stuff going on, right? So we're all thinking the same stuff. And I just offer one client's perspective today was, in fact, she was struggling with all of the changes that were going on, right? So she's a really social being. So she's like, I interaction, and she lives on her own, so she can't see anybody. And she was just really struggling with this.
Mm-hmm.
And so for anyone of when it's an emotion like, and Kenny, you just touched on it, of hard, and there's going to be loss potentially, I would offer as a coach that there's great value in honoring that emotion, right? Like sometimes we have a tendency to want to pop off of it because it feels uncomfortable. But just like if we're talking about people closing their businesses or making changes that are hard, I really say spend time feeling those emotions, honoring them, because if not, they're going to just get buried down below. And we're going to drink them away, but they're going to come out in some measure. Right? At some point, they absolutely will. Yeah. So, and think of it like if an emotion like loss or grief, any of the emotions, but those are the two I'm thinking of, is like you're riding a wave for 90 seconds. It's a vibration in our body that if we don't even give it 90 seconds, but literally that's sometimes all it takes to literally just feel it and grieve it. And then you can move on and get creative to go, okay, now what? What would it look like? But if we don't, and we try to just push it and resist it or eat it or drink it away and just do this, then there's only going to be other ramifications down the way, right? And that's the part that we have this moment right now to be intentional, feel our feelings. Let's look at all of it, right?
Yeah. I think the only thing, if you're listening to the three of us talk, that might be, I think it's an epiphany as I'm listening to us talk, is that if you're listening to the three of us, the one thing, like we talk about being intentional, making a moment out of this and trying to figure things out, none of this is like easy, and none of it doesn't require a ton of effort. Like what you need to know about, I think, all three of us is that we don't really, I think we're all grinders. We all do a ton of work. We don't really, it's not a factor when, I'm speaking for all three of us, but you guys can jump in and like, but I don't think hard work is a factor for the three of us. Like we kind of like, it's a requirement for anything we do. So you kind of like push past it. But I don't think, like, if you're out there and you're listening and you're a small business and you're listening to us talk, it's an assumption that we make that, you just like, it's going to be a ton of work, whatever it is. Even that first question, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? How could it look different? What could it be? It's a lot of work. So just know that there's nothing in what we're suggesting where we're going, hey, go have a glass of wine and sit on a patio and like, you'll be done in 15 minutes. No. There's like a million hours of work. There's a lot of up and down emotion in it. But it is something I wanted to call out because I think all three of us do it. I don't really, like, sometimes I do things and then people go, whoa, that was a lot of work. And you're like, The end goal was there, and I just had to get there. Like
Sometimes that's
right?
what took,
Like,
that's what took to get there. I'm sorry. There wasn't,
it doesn't really matter what it
was
took.
the only
It's
road.
just-
That's
it's-
how it had to
yeah,
get there.
Yeah.
Well, and I would
Yeah.
offer again, like for me, it's the mindset that I have to do the intentional thinking. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
right, of going to the gym and somebody showing me an exercise to do because it's going to give me the muscle tone that I want,
Mm-hmm.
but then never doing the exercising.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
So for me to be able to do the hard work and to keep showing up every day with, I'm going through COVID, I'm going through not being able to see, like all of those things are there, but I got to keep reminding myself that I can do hard things.
Mhm.
Doesn't make them any easier.
Mhm.
No.
I'm just building that resilience that I can
Mhm.
totally do it. And that's the thinking that I have to be doing. We all have to be. So you're doing it saying, I know what the game plan is. I'm willing to do this. That's the mindset that you're doing and pushing through in order. So I would offer anyone knowing and thinking this is going to be hard. Absolutely. But
This is going to be a bitch.
I have complete confidence in anybody here.
Sure.
Seriously, I do. Because if they're listening, all they have to grab from this podcast is they can believe in themselves that they can do it.
Yeah.
That's going to be the nail that either breaks it or
Yeah.
builds out a whole new path for them.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's gonna
It's
be
lots to
interesting.
think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a definitely
Yeah.
interesting time that we're going through.
We're actually
Yeah.
reading history books, guys. I never knew what
This
we'd
is a
be-
big thing, man. This is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, the last time the world went through this was, 102 years ago
Yeah.
of this particular one, right?
Yeah.
They were really, the only last thing that really shut the world down was, from 39 to 45.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
Second World War. I mean, really, the world
Yeah.
has not shut down
Yeah.
in 80 years,
Yeah.
70 years, whatever it is. I mean, this is a big deal,
Yeah.
right? It is a big deal. And I do offer that. I think you're right, Laura. I think when you got to look at it, for a lot of, I've got friends who are in these situations right now, right, with the businesses, and some of them are going to have to sit, and the decision's going to be, and it's a hard decision, no different than either side, but some of them are going to have to close the business. But you know what? That's still going to take work, and you're going to have to sit down, and you're going to have to go through it,
Yeah.
and you're going to get to that
Figure out
end,
what it means. Yeah.
right? Whatever that means. But
Yeah.
while you're doing that, there are a million other things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
That you're going to see, and you're for a lot of them, you know what they're really going to see. It probably wasn't the best thing they've been doing for the last few years, because luckily it survived. But it really, this is a bump in the road. It's a big bump at the moment, but if you got to be able to get through bumps. Like, I mean, nobody thought it'd be COVID, but it could have been another thing. We could have hit a recession. It could be something else. I don't care what it is, but whatever. You got to be ready to get through these things and go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sit down and grind through it and do the work, whatever that means. And
Yeah.
And
Just do it.
And it's so interesting because I would just say anyone that's listening, because they have an entrepreneurial gene in their body, they're already somebody that does hard
Exactly.
things, right?
exactly.
Like
all
they-
the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, you should be wired to come out of this in a decent spot. You got to get out of that ugly spot, like you said, and look for.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I
I feel this. What else is it? What's driving this?
And I would offer that for anyone listening to surround themselves with good community and support.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, to know that they're not alone, right? When you think Kenny
Yeah.
is on commercial burnout, right? They've got their business improvement. They've got whatever it is to go and get that information and that camaraderie. I'm just seeing that right now, that community is where people are wanting to just feel included and figure things out together.
It's nice to see again. We haven't seen this in a long time.
Yeah.
It's
Even
always these
podcast is
things
often
like
that, right?
I hope so, to the point where if someone is in a spot and they're thinking, geez, then phone.
Yeah.
It's not hard to find us, the three of us, for example. I mean,
Yeah, we're in
I
your
can walk through
community
it.
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is the best. This I've never seen. It's so nice to see so many people coming to help people. And again, it could be helping them shut it down, this part of their life, this one moment in time to start something else. But this is what we're supposed to do for each other.
Yeah.
I think we finally got a little kinder as a society. Seriously, we're reaching out, we're talking more, we're,
I think we just stopped.
I think we needed
stopped
to
and took some
reset.
time off. I think we were really
I-
nice to begin with. I just think
So
Well,
We were
good.
running on. I'm kind of with Laurie. I think this has been a nice reset.
yeah, I
Grind
really
back
think
down
so.
to
Like,
what's.
you know.
I like how you're saying that. It's what we're innately born
This
to
is what
do.
we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we should be proud. This is what we should be all the time.
Yeah.
Helpful thinking, a little
Yeah.
compassionate, a little empathy.
Yeah.
Right? Help
So
each
you
other
know,
out.
the next time that somebody asks me about, well, the going back to the other ways, I'm loving Brene Brown, and the whole thing of this
No way, man.
conversation is, I don't want to go back.
No shit.
This is like, this is exactly what we needed to just
exactly.
Yeah.
refresh.
Yeah. Reset.
Maybe
Yeah.
this is something. Yeah. This is just a reset that we needed, and thank God it wasn't massively. You know, it's not 100 million people. It's not it's not good. I get it, but we're going to get out of this one. I think
Hopefully.
relatively fast. Once we get moving, we're going to move. But hopefully, we haven't forgot some of these cool things that we've just learned a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, as extroverted as everybody thinks we are, I'm not really minding this too much. You know, I kind of like a little more alone time, and I kind of like it.
Share with all of my tribe that my husband's breathing's really irritating me right now.
I saw that. I was like,
yeah, it's awesome,
Jimmy.
Yeah. So I actually somebody sent me another meme and said, well, that's okay. My husband's blinking is irritating me. And I went, oh, okay. I'm not quite there yet.
Okay,
So-
we're not there yet.
Okay.
Jimmy, you got time, baby.
Yeah. I have to blink the other way or something.
That's awesome.
So good. So good.
So
yeah,
good.
it's all good, man. It's all going to be okay.
You are you hosting? So I've seen you host a ton of things.
I have.
Saw something the other day, too.
So yeah, right. And so if folks want to jump on, they can follow you and then jump on some of these open.
Oh, please. Absolutely. LaurieShopland.com. And right up my front side is how to sign up for my open calls and the free coaching calls. And
Love it.
jump on and raise your hand and get coached. And it's so fun because seeing everybody diatribe on the side saying, oh, I can still relate, right? So even if you don't get picked, like you're going to relate to somebody else on there getting coached.
100%.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you. Thanks for,
It's all good, guys.
Sure. Yay.
Good.
Awesome.
All right, Kenny, happy Palooza again. Enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Maybe I'm going to have a glass of wine. What the hell? There's a reason, isn't there?
A Palooza, birthday Palooza. Absolutely.
Birthday Palooza.
I can't drag this out too long. Jesus.
Oh, so good to see you guys.
You too.
You too. You
All right.
too. All
Okay,
right.
thanks,
Thanks.
Laura.
Have a great
Ciao.
night, guys. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, that's the end of this Commerce Life. We'll be back soon with the next episode. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. Give us feedback. Tell us what you think. Subscribe, like us, join us, share us, tell your friends about us. And we hope to see you next time with more commerce news.